The World Cup isn't just the biggest sporting event on earth. When you factor in global sponsorships, the impact on tourism, and broadcast rights, the World Cup moves more than $50 billion in direct and indirect value per cycle. And most fans have no idea who really gets paid. Behind the anthem, the trophy, and the confetti is a business empire built to move money at a global scale. And once you see who profits most, you'll never watch it in the same way again. Hi, this is Cyrus Fernando with FGTP, From Glory to Power, where football meets money, media, influence, and control. For most of the World Cup still feels like the last truly global football ritual. Not just a tournament, a shared event, a month when flags come back out, old rivalries reopen, and matches start feeling larger than sport. Streets clear, families gather around screens. Players become national symbols in a single night. Entire countries remember exactly where they were when a goal went in. That feeling is real. It always has been. But it is also useful because the World Cup has always depended on myth. It has always needed to feel bigger than administration and bigger than contracts. It is sold as football at full emotional volume, pride, pressure, the country against country, and this is exactly what makes it so powerful. From the beginning, the tournament was never only about the teams on the pitch. In 1930, the first World Cup in Uruguay was already a political statement. 13 teams, one host city, a new stadium rising as a symbol of national ambition. Even before broadcast deals, even before multinational sponsors, the event was tied to projection, prestige, and state image. The first edition already showed the pattern, that football mattered, but so did hosting power. So did status, so did the ability to turn sport into a national theatre. As the event grew, the myth grew with it. Then television changed everything. Once the World Cup became a mass global broadcast, it stopped being only a championship and became a delivery system. It delivered audience, it delivered prestige, it delivered emotion at industrial scale. Under João Havelange, FIFA stopped behaving like a modest sport committee and started operating as a global commercial entity sitting on one of the most valuable properties in sport. The tournament expanded, the revenue expanded, the sponsor model expanded, then audience expanded, and the distance between the fans who powered the emotion and the executive who captured the value grew wider with every cycle. The World Cup grew from a competition into a commercial platform. That is the illusion at the center of the event. Fans see glory and they are not wrong. The pressure is real. The last-minute winners, the stunned goalkeepers, the children crying in the crowd, the national anthems and the trophy lifts. None of that is fake, but it is only the visible layer. Underneath it sits something colder and more precise. A rights business built around scarcity. The World Cup arrives rarely. It matters deeply. It concentrates global attention into one short window. In media terms, that combination is almost unbeatable. That is why cities prepare years in advance. Security systems are upgraded. Airports expanded, transit links are improved, broadcast plans are mapped, sponsor campaigns are laid out country by country, with hospitality programs being designed long before a ball is even kicked. And at every one of those preparations involves a contract, and every contract has a price, and every price has a beneficiary. By the time the opening match starts, a huge amount of value has already been assigned. Stop seeing the World Cup as the only peak of international football and start seeing it as the most efficient attention markets in world sport. The goal you see is the product. The replay is the product. The anthem is the product. The tears are the product. And the drama is the product. But the real game is ownership. The tournament lasts just over a month, but the money cycle runs for years. And once you understand that, the next question becomes unavoidable. Who actually gets paid? Let's start at the center with FIFA. FIFA doesn't need to score the goals or supply the emotion. Its power comes from control. It owns the competition. It controls the marks. It sells the broadcast packages. It licenses the sponsorship categories. It manages ticketing and hospitality rights. It sits at the commercial gateway to the biggest tournament in football. And once you control the gateway, everybody else lines up to pay. That is what most fans miss. FIFA is not powerful because it plays football. FIFA is powerful because it owns access to football at its rarest and most valuable moment. In the 2019 and 2022 cycle alone, FIFA reported total revenue of $7.5 billion. Rights connected to the Qatar World Cup accounted for 83% of that total. Broadcasting, marketing, licensing, hospitality, and ticketing all flowed through FIFA as a central rights holder. That is not a governing body running a tournament, that is a platform monetizing attention. Then come the broadcasters. Broadcasters pay enormous sums because live sport still does something most modern content cannot do. It forces real-time attention. People do not want the score later. They want the match now. They want to sit inside the event while it is still unresolved. That makes the World Cup premium television, premium streaming, premium ad inventory, and premium national conversation all at once. A broadcaster is not buying the right to show a game. It's buying a position at the center of global attention. Then comes the sponsors. And here the language matters. Sponsors are not paying for football in some sentimental sense. They are paying for association with scale, emotion, urgency, and significance. The sponsor is not buying a logo on a board. They are buying access to a giant emotional atmosphere that billions of people have already agreed matters. Most advertising has to interrupt people. The World Cup advertising attaches itself to something people were already going to care about. The difference is worth billions. Then come the host cities. Host cities are sold two stories at once. The first is glory, the second is growth. Visitors, spending, visibility, infrastructure improvements, brand elevation. Sometimes cities do benefit. Hotels fill, transport upgrades move faster. A city can use a tournament to market itself to the world. But host cities are not pure winners. They are negotiated winners. Because to get the event, they also have to take on obligations, deadlines, security demands, logistical pressure, and public scrutiny that private actors do not carry in the same way. The city gets exposure, others get revenue with low public exposure. Then the quieter winners, consultants who shape bids, contractors tied to venue works, logistic firms, security companies, technology vendors, legal teams, brand agencies, and even staffing networks. The World Cup does not only enrich the institutions fans can name, it creates a large commercial orbit of firms that profit from complexity itself. The event is so large, so compressed, and so reputation sensitive that entire industries can bill around it. There is no trophy shot for the right holders, no slow motion montage for a consulting firm, no anthem for an infrastructure vendor. But structurally, this is where the tournament starts to reveal itself. Not as chaos, but as design. Attention flows in from billions of people. Commercial value is extracted through exclusivity, access, licensing, hospitality, and sponsorship. Then that value flows upward and outward to the actors positioned closest to the control point. And history gave FIFA a clear proof point. The United States in 1994. That tournament was staged in a country that didn't treat football as its primary sport, but commercially, it was a breakthrough. Total attendance reached 3.58 million across 52 matches, a record that still stands more than 3 decades later. Stadiums were filled to roughly 96% capacity. The event proved that the right market structure could turn the World Cup into commercial success even outside traditional football culture. And that changed the game, because once the World Cup proved it could scale commercially in the United States, it stopped looking only like the crown jewel of football culture. And it started looking like a portable commercial model. The World Cup does not move countries forward, it moves money. Now comes the harder question. If so many people are set up to take the upside before the tournament even begins, who is left holding the downside when the event is over? This is where the glamour starts to thin out, because the people who collect the reward are not always the people who carry the aftermath. FIFA does not usually build the stadiums. It is the host government, host cities, and public authorities that absorb much of the heavier burden around the event. Transport works, security systems, urban preparation, site operations, public services stretched around massive crowds, long-tail maintenance. Even where private partners are involved, public exposure often stays significant. That means the risk side of the World Cup story is often pushed downward. It's towards taxpayers, towards municipal budgets, towards local authorities that cannot leave when the tournament does. FIFA never builds a stadium, they just collect the rent. They monetize the event while hosting governments and cities often carry much of the infrastructure and security burden. Again and again, the same pattern appears in different forms. South Africa 2010, Brazil 2014. The details change, but the structure is familiar. The tournament can leave memories very quickly. It also leaves bills much more slowly. The excitement is concentrated. The consequences are dispersed. The opening match is unforgettable. The debt is administrative. The final is global. The maintenance budget is local. That is why host promises need to be treated carefully. Jobs, tourism, legacy, urban renewal. These promises are not always empty. Sometimes a city really does gain lasting value. But the outcomes are uneven and the pitch is almost always cleaner than the aftermath. Right holders want scale. Sponsors want exposure. Broadcasters want audience. Political leaders want prestige. Optimism is part of the product, but accountability rarely grows alongside it. And the accountability usually weakens once the event is over. That is one of the deepest structural advantages in the World Cup model. FIFA can control the event, monetize the rights, and preserve distance from many of the long-term local liabilities. It owns the assets, but others absorb the heavier exposure. So when people say the World Cup transforms a country, the right response is not automatic agreement. The right response is a harder question. Transforms it for whom? Is it for the contractors and event firms tied to the tournament? For broadcasters and sponsors who only need the peak attention window? For cities still defending the legacy years later? Or for FIFA, which moves on to the next cycle with the rights model intact? That is why the tournament has to be understood as more than just a celebration. It's a negotiation between public cost and private capture. And that becomes even more important when we turn to 2026. Because 2026 is not entering an empty field. It's entering North America. And in that environment, the power map looks different. And once you understand how risk is distributed, you also understand why America wanted control. So why did the United States want the 2026 World Cup? Is it because it suddenly discovered football purity? Not because it needed sporting validation. America already learned the key lesson in 1994. The World Cup can thrive inside a market that knows how to monetize live attention at scale, and that lesson matters even more now. The 2026 tournament is bigger than anything before it. 48 teams, 104 matches, 16 host cities spread across 3 countries. More inventory, more sponsorship layers, more hospitality surface area, more broadcast value, more ways to package, sell, and extend the event. FIFA itself projects revenues of $13 billion for the 2023 to 2026 cycle, an increase of nearly 50% over the previous cycle. That is not organic growth. That is an architecture designed to extract more value from every layer of the event. The United States is not building that machinery from scratch. It already has the stadiums. It already has the media companies. It already has a sponsor ecosystem. It already has the premium seating infrastructure. It already has a private capital, and that changed the logic of hosting. In many countries, the World Cup arrives as a development project, but in the United States, it arrives as a scale project. That is not the sports infrastructure. It's an infrastructure absorbing sport. The machinery is already there. The event simply plugs into it. This is not just the World Cup entering another host nation. This is the World Cup entering one of the most advanced commercial sports markets on earth. A market built to package spectacle, price attention, and stretch one event across multiple revenue layers. The United States does not need the World Cup to teach it how to commercialize spectacle. It already does that at an elite level across other sports. What the World Cup brings is a global football audience large enough to justify a full spectrum commercial operation. Mexico brings heritage. The Azteca carries memory and history itself. That matters because heritage is part of the product, but the United States brings something else. It's infrastructure, market depth, and commercial discipline. This is where the World Cup becomes less about introducing football to a nation and more about slotting football into a fully developed entertainment architecture. America did not bid for the World Cup for football reasons alone. It bid because the World Cup is one of the few properties large enough to justify a full spectrum commercial operation across media rights, sponsorship, hospitality, premium ticketing, civic branding, and long-tail business opportunities. America saw the tournament not as sport alone, but the infrastructure meeting spectacle. And when those two things meet, value can be extracted very efficiently. That is why 2026 matters so much to this series. Because once you place the World Cup inside the American system, the conversation stops being about players, tactics, fans, or host cities, And it becomes a conversation about power. Who controls access? Who owns the rights? Who gets closer to the deals? Who carries the obligations? Who turns football into power? And who leaves with the upside when the month is over? So here is the executive takeaway. If you are a sponsor, investor, or operator looking at the 2026, stop treating the World Cup as a sponsorship event and treat it as a market entry event. Because in the United States, the real opportunity is not visibility, it's the infrastructure meeting attention. That changes the playbook. For brands, mass awareness alone will not be enough. The strongest players will build city by city, audience by audience, language by language. This tournament will not behave like one market. It will behave like a network of premium local markets connected by one global story. Distribution matters more than logo presence, and partnership design matters more than simple ad spend. For investors, the cleaner signal may not sit on the pitch at all. It may sit in the businesses that profit from events complexity, hospitality, payments, logistics, premium ticketing, venue technology, fan data, and live event infrastructure. The teams create the attention. The surrounding system often monetize it more efficiently, and the window is already narrowing. By the time the opening whistle sounds at the Azteca on June 11, 2026, the best hospitality positions will already be locked in. The strongest partnerships will already be formed. The smartest activations will already be running, and the intelligence is simple. The 2026 World Cup is not a tournament to advertise around. It's a rare entry window into the North America sport business system. And if you wait until kickoff to act, you are not early, you are late. This was episode 1, and we've only just scraped the surface, because next we stop looking at the World Cup as an event and start mapping the people and blocks that shape global football from above. And if you want to see how the World Cup 2026 is completely different depending on which confederation a nation comes from nothing to glory breaks that system down in full. All economic estimates referenced in this series are drawn from FIFA public filings and independent analysis, including Deloitte Insights and OECD reports. This is episode 1, and we have not even talked about the owners yet. This is not about football. This is about power. I'm Cyrus Fernando. This is FGTP, From Glory to Power. Subscribe now, and I'll see you soon.